I am very excited to have my next guest join us. She is a talented singer and songwriter on the rise.
Debut EP, I'm Watching You, is out right now.
Isabel LaRosa.
Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Are you sure? This is New York City that we're doing this in, and you're wearing a leather jacket in this.
It's all about the vibe. It's all about the aesthetic.
Would you normally wear this on a shopping spree or whatever?
Probably.
Yeah.
It depends on what context, but if I'm going to somewhere where I want to wear a leather jacket, I'll wear the leather jacket, you know.
I hear you.
But if I'm just walking around around the studio, I'm probably not.
You're in sweats.
Yeah,
and
I'm in
t-shirt.
jean shorts and big t-shirt and whatnot. So, but
But it is the New York City vibe.
It is the New York City vibe. You gotta do what you gotta do.
Right. And I find it interesting because you are originally from Maryland and you recently moved here. You're in and out and all that stuff. How have you acclimated to New York?
Absolutely. I think that I've kind of been back and forth for a bit, but I usually spend most of my time in Annapolis. The last time I actually returned home, it was weird for me because I was like, wait, I'm now splitting time. It's not like I go into New York to visit. It's kind of equal, and it was kind of it was a bit odd for me because I was like, I'm not fully living at home anymore. You know what I mean? So I was like, oh my god, that's something to process a little bit, but it's good though. I mean, I love New York. Maybe not in the winter. It's a little freezing. I'm not a fan of the cold, but it's great. I love New York, and I think it's good to go back and forth. You never get too used to being in one place so.
Have you noticed the difference in attitude as well in New York? Because
absolutely.
They always talk about it, right? If
No,
you can't make it in New York.
Oh, 100%. I think that it was kind of an odd example, but it was something that I was talking to Thomas about, and Thomas is my brother. I just want to make that clear. Sometimes I say Thomas and then no one knows what I'm talking about. But I was talking to Thomas the other day that I was in Annapolis and I bike around a lot just because I like biking and, I think about things when I bike. But I was biking to a CVS near my house, and I was at this intersection and I was biking across. And this never has happened to me, but the entire intersection just stopped when they had right of way to let me across the street, and that would have never in a million years happened in New York. Even if I had right of way, they still would have tried to run me over. So I think that's a pretty good example of the difference between the two.
How much older is your brother than you?
He's 3.5 years older than me.
Okay.
So he's 20. He just turned 21, and I'm 17.
Okay.
So.
And you just graduated high school?
I'm almost there.
You're almost there?
I'm almost there. I'm very close. I need to go. I'm actually leaving in a couple of days so I can go home and finish a couple classes.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm almost done.
Sorry for assuming.
No, it's all good. To be honest, sometimes I assume that I'm out, and I'm like, oh wait, I actually have to do assignments, and then I'm brought back a little bit. So
How's that been in the last 3 years in the middle of everything that we've been through as a student, as well as a creative? Because there's so many different priorities, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that it's kind of been a weird process for me because I've grown up doing music, so it's always something that I've done. It's never I never really had a stopping point where I didn't do music, even throughout the pandemic and everything that happened. If anything, that made it happen more. But I think that, I've done pretty much every type of school you can imagine. I was homeschooled for a long time, and then I went to private school, and I left halfway through that year, and then I went to public school, and then COVID happened, and so we all went online. And then after that, I switched to an online school. So I think that online was very helpful for me because I can do what I want to do, and then it's easier for it to be the second thought, if that makes sense. My parents are not gonna like me saying this. But
is this the real reason why you're just a few classes shy graduating?
No, exactly. They've gotten good about it, so they're. But I still do need to finish them.
Right.
But it's been good for me to be able to be online and be able to balance it because music is what I always wanted to do, and then it's been a good place to be able to really focus on it. So.
Were you okay being in quarantine? And I feel like the creative process is an individual thing, right?
Yeah. It was actually, I think that it was very different for everybody, but it was very actually good for me because I think that I've never, just in terms of school, I've never had a good experience in in-person school. It's never been good for me. I think the school that I was had been most recently at was probably the best experience I had, but I still didn't. It's never been my thing.
Yeah.
So I think it was. I really enjoyed it because I got to go home and I really got to focus on what I wanted to do, and it just gave me time to like Thomas and I to really actually be able to work. We had this thing where we would write and produce a song a week during the pandemic, so we had so much stuff. So it was just a really good time to be able to sit and focus and like really think about the direction we wanted to go, because during quarantine is when we decided we wanted to do like solo names, because before we were actually releasing as a duo, and we were like, you know what I mean? So it gave us a lot of creative freedom, which I thought was very valuable.
I like the name that you chose for your duo. It's very creative. LaRosa.
Yeah. It was, I mean, we put a lot of thought into it, how can I say?
I'm sure that list of names on a spreadsheet was like 100 lines.
We actually had another one before that, so we're not going to talk about that one.
Okay. Was there any second place? What was the second place?
It was, oh my God, I don't even know.
Was it a combination of your names? Like
it was actually called, I cannot believe I'm talking about this right now, but it was called Time Cycles.
Time Cycles?
It was, I don't really know. I mean, it was kind of cool, but it was completely unrelated to our names at all. And then we went with LaRosa because it was more simple. And then we were like, we didn't see any duos kind of blowing up.
It's so interesting how names come about. So that's why I bring it up.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
You guys obviously have this history in terms of growing up around music, with your dad being a musician himself. But on the jazz side of things, did you take jazz lessons and perform jazz recitals? And
my dad is a jazz musician, so I never actually took lessons with anybody else, but I was like trained by my dad. So I grew up singing like jazz standards, but oddly enough, like he never wanted my vocal styling to be in the style of jazz. He always wanted me to be able to execute the songs well and have good like technique, but never like take on a certain style that I wouldn't necessarily want later. And then like, because you keep things that you learn when you're younger, and I learned them when I was very young. But he was very thorough teacher, and I learned, I think the first song I ever performed was Autumn Leaves by Chet Baker. Well, no, Chet Baker did we don't need to get into the detail.
Well, I mean, in terms of the jazz influences, there's so many iconic jazz singers, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Who were the ones that he exposed you to, and who were the ones that you gravitated to?
I mean, I think that oddly enough, like I don't even remember a lot of the singers that it was really the songs, and I think that that's something that's carried through what we've done, even today. The songs are so important, like the songwriting, because I think that like there are so many different jazz singers that could do the same song in a different way and it would sound amazing because the song's amazing. So I think that's always something that we've taken away from that. But I don't even remember I mean, literally Chet Baker is the one that stands out to me.
That's the one that stands out.
But I could not give you a list.
Because I think if someone were to say, oh, Isabel's a female singer and she grew up with jazz, then immediately, Billie Holiday, Etta James, so on and so on, right? And it's a good point in terms of reference and training and figuring out if that's for you.
Yeah.
And then as you evolve and change, and then whatever you are informed by later on in life, that resonates with you, then you kind of pick that lane. So you start off with that, and you have very experimental sounds, like with Game Boy, and then how does it change? What was the process from Game Boy and the songs that were made early on and to what you have now?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that with Game Boy, actually, we wrote it like I think it was like a year and a half before it was released, and I think that we were really like trying to find a certain sound because we like a lot of different music, obviously, but we're like, so we are kind of all over. We felt like we were a bit in every like lane, and Game Boy, I love the song, obviously, but it never fully felt like something that was like completely honest to me. Even though I love the song, and you know what I mean? It like, I think we were really just trying to find what is the kind of defining sound for me. And obviously that changes and evolves. Like, you never want to be too set in one thing, because things change, things move on, and you don't want to be too attached to one thing. But I think that finding like a core identity is very important. And I think that we kind of, with Haunted later on and Help, we kind of found this thing that felt very close to me, as like what I like in terms of my personal taste, and just what felt right with the visuals that I love, and everything kind of fell into place a bit. So we were like, I felt like, this is the artist that I am. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think but Game Boy and Therapy and all these songs were extremely helpful in finding that. Like, if we hadn't released those songs, who knows if we would have written Haunted, you know? So
yeah.
I think that,
and that's fair. I think there's so many artists early in their careers that experiment with sounds and they withhold them. Now with social media and TikTok especially, you can write half a song and say, hey, what do you think?
Yeah, exactly.
And if the response is positive, you're like, okay, I'm on the right track. And if it feels comfortable to you.
Yeah,
at
exactly,
the same time.
exactly. I think that TikTok has been, obviously such a helpful platform, and I think that the process even now is different than what we used to do. We used to write like a song a week, and then we would finish it, and then we would be like, okay, which one do we want to go with? But I didn't post on TikTok then. I didn't think that it was the resource that it was, because it didn't even connect. But I think once I started teasing stuff on there, like, it became such a valuable thing for me. And I also think that we're like, why not throw it up there and see if it works? There's no harm in seeing if something sticks, you know what I mean? And I think that, like, it's just valuable to put everything out there, and just, like, you never know what's gonna move. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we were gonna go with a piano ballad before Haunted, which obviously it has not come out yet. So, so I think that you never know what's gonna work. So I think that just, like, trying a bunch of different things is very valuable, so.
And clearly, that was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Because you post half of a song, or a portion of the song,
like the
Haunted,
hook.
onto TikTok. Nice, scary visuals. And all of a sudden, just, really just gains traction. And what were your thoughts when you first posted it? Was it just that experimentation and just whatever happens, happens?
Definitely. I think that I loved the song. And I to be honest, we literally didn't have the full song written when I teased it. So I put up the video, and I didn't do anything for like 2 days, and so I was like, oh, okay, they like didn't do anything, and then it just started to move out of nowhere, and I was like, oh my god, what? And I think that, I don't know, I think that it connected well with a certain audience at a certain time. I think that it was like the winter, and I think for whatever reason the feel resonated with people, and I think the Euphoria season was at its peak, and the visuals and the song felt like, it was written as if it could be a part of Euphoria.
Right.
And I just think that, like, timing-wise and feel-wise, it just worked. But I didn't, I believe in all the songs that we teased, but I didn't think that it was going to go the way it did, because I just try to have very low expectations for everything. So but it was wild.
That's how it usually goes. It's the ones that you don't even think much of.
Yeah, exactly.
The ones that took 15 minutes to write. You're like, the label wants 5 songs. All right,
I'll just throw this
right?
up. Yeah,
and then that's
exactly.
the one that goes. It's interesting about the visual aspect of things. Do you make music with visuals in mind? Do you think in colors, as most or a lot of musicians do?
Definitely. I think that, Thomas and I work together on the writing, but like a lot of the times, like, he'll come to me with a hook, and then I will listen to it. And I don't even know how to describe the creative process with visuals, because I just, like, I almost think about it like, I think about visuals very much in reference to, like, movies and TV shows and short films and all that kind of stuff, and not as much of, like, music video type style videos. So I kind of, like, put it almost as, like, the soundtrack to what I would think the movie would be to that song.
Right.
If that makes that's a little bit of a confusing
yeah,
sentence.
yeah.
But
right.
but I think that, like, I just try to think about it like, if this was a scene in a movie, how would this feel seamless? But it just pops into my head. Like, I don't, I think about it like shot by shot, and then I just write it down in my notes.
So with the EP out, this is only the beginning.
Yes.
I'm sure there's a ton more coming down the pipe, and 2022 is only halfway done. What you got planned?
It's kind of a lot of the same thing, to be honest. We have so much stuff that has not been put out yet, or like even teased. Only snippets.
Okay.
But I think that it's, I think we probably should start finishing some songs, which is what we're currently doing. But I'm very excited to, I want something, I want to top the charts, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the goal. So, I think Haunted has been amazing and help, and it's been great. But, we have just so much other stuff. Like, this is kind of the tip of the iceberg a little bit.
When we spoke about your upbringing and the sounds and what you basically are trying to do, did the new songs or next batch of songs reflect a different sound, or is it the continuation, so to speak, of Haunted? And
yeah,
songs?
I think that we were talking about it the other day, and I think that things kind of change almost like by season. It's oddly enough, like, because things like colder things tend to go viral in the winter, and more like, I think there's a difference between, I think, dark and cold. You can still have something be dark and not feel cold. So I think that, like, it is kind of a continuation of Haunted in that it's a similar, like, world. Like, they're all a part of the same world, but they're not the exact same thing, obviously. Because we never want to have a thing where, like, we try to replicate a song and it just doesn't work. Like, you know what I mean? We always try to have a song be its own song, and even if it fits into the world that we want to create, it still stands alone. So I think that it's like, similar. It's within the same world, but it's not the same song.
And when we think about that, are we also thinking hip hop and trap and guitar-driven things?
Definitely. I think that, like, we draw influences from a lot of different things. So I think that, like, something that we've been really into is Woo by Rihanna, which is, like, completely blown up on TikTok right now. And I think that the gritty things tend to be, like, I don't know, I just see a lot of them right now. So, like, there's some stuff like that, but there's also some stuff that's more smoother, and, I don't want to reveal too much, but I think that it's all about where we take inspiration from, and I think that it's also about the song and fitting production to the song, because I think you could be like, oh, I want a song in the production style of this, but if it doesn't fit the song, it doesn't work. It's like the same thing with song and visual. If they don't feel like they're one thing, it doesn't. Where there's, like, if there's a disconnect, it doesn't work. So
I'm excited. I'm already envisioning this as a soundtrack to, like, a 2-hour movie or something like that.
That's kind of what I want. I want to make some. I'm writing some short films.
Okay.
So.
And will you be acting more?
I would love to. Yeah. I think that it's. I used to be like. I almost went just into film for a bit. So it's something that I enjoy quite a bit. And as I do more and more, you get more experience with acting. And I don't think acting is going to be my career, but I think that if I can do it and it helps the videos, then yes. So
okay.
Yes is the answer.
All right, I'm looking forward to that. But if anybody could fit the part, is there anybody on your short list?
Oh my God, who would I cast? I don't even know. I might have to get back to you.
Really?
On that one. Again, I watched the movie X recently. I love that movie so much. So if I could cast Mia Goth in something, I would 100% do it.
That would be awesome.
That would be pretty crazy to me. But I'm sure there are some people I would want to. Everything, whenever I'm asked a question, they all just, like, go out of my head instantaneously. It's like when you ask what your favorite song is, and I don't remember any song I've ever listened to.
Yeah. I get asked that all the time, and I blank. Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
Well, absolutely. I'm really excited for your future.
Thank you.
And these songs are, like you said, the tip of the iceberg. Mm-hmm. I know there's going to be a lot more from you that people are going to be like, okay, I get it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just fun. It's like my life. Yeah. So it's like the only thing I'd want to do.
Yeah.
So it's a very fun thing that I'm glad I'm able to do right now. It's so.
Finish high school.
Finish high school.
Then you're off.
Then I just got to finish, like, 3 more classes, and I'm good. Like, I'm set. I got to just get them done.
Awesome.
But thank you so much for having me.
I really appreciate you.
You're my first official, like, video interview.
Yeah.
So that's pretty
Hopefully
crazy.
It wasn't too scary.
No. It's been very, very good talking to you.
Awesome. Great talking to you, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Best of luck with everything.
Thank you so much.